Hi everyone, I'm back again. This time I don't have a wood turning tip, but I actually have a product review. Recently I was given a couple of test pieces of a product called Chucky Glide. It's from Rubber Chucky products. Their website is rubberchucky.com. And what this product is, it is a strip to go over the top of your tool rest if your tool rest happens to be banged up and scarred up and causing drag on your tool or little dips and divots because it's got so many dings on it. So this product here is actually a graphite embedded rubber strip that is adhesive backed, and it goes basically gets clamped down and glued onto the tool rest. And this is a great product if you don't have one of the newer rests like from Robust or Advanced Slave Tools that have the hardened steel rod on top. But if you have an old cast iron or steel tool rest where you constantly are having to file it to keep it smooth, or if it's gotten so used over the years that if you were to file it you'd have to take down quite a bit, this product would be good for that. Let's take a look. Okay, here's the product on my long tool rest. I've been using it for the better part of 2 months now, and as I mentioned earlier, it's pressure sensitive adhesive backed, and so all I do is remove the backing material and press it down. Now the one thing I did have happen was the adhesive strip came off when I pulled the backing off, and that was easy to rectify. I just had to carefully put the adhesive back in place and clamp it down. But it's one thing to watch out for. The strips come in about 1.5 inches wide by about 13-14 inches long here. And what I should have done is I should have cut the strip lengthwise in half, because I had more than adequate enough to overlap the top of the tool rest on both sides, and I actually had to trim off some from side to side here because where my finger was normally running, it was actually in place of where I wanted my finger to run, or just over the regular tool rest. So I think I could have gone away with half of a strip on top of the tool rest itself. Now in use, the product as it's being used will get slicker and smoother over time. The more you run your tool over it, the more the material compacts and presses in and smooths out and just becomes slicker and slicker and slicker. Now the one thing to watch out for, however, is if you have a tool that has a sharp edge on it and you rotate, if you rotate your gouge over, you may dig in, or if you're using a skew or a scraper and you rotate into the square hard side edge of it, you may get a dig. Not really too much of a problem because it does smooth itself back out as you continually go over the spot, but it does alleviate a lot of the problems you have with your tool going over the little dings and divots in your tool rest. The other issue that you want to watch out for is, since it is graphite impregnated rubber, when you go over the tool rest, you're going to pick up graphite on your fingers, or if you bump up your workpiece against it, it's going to rub off on the wood. It's not really too much of a problem because it's just like using charcoals in art class. You can just easily wash it off your hands. The wood, however, you may end up with something like that, but really still not too much of a problem. Take a little denatured alcohol, and it cleans up fairly easily. However, if you have a really light colored wood like holly or box elder or something of that nature, you want to be a little more careful, not to get it against your turning, because you don't want to get any up against that, and trying to get off a really light colored wood might be a little more difficult. But in use, it's been great. I haven't had much of a problem with it at all. Again, just watch the hard edges from my skew and like that. just had to watch out for dig-ins from that. I did have one, but I quickly, got it back out. And I'd highly recommend the product, especially since I think it's going to be a fairly inexpensive product. So it can bring your old tool rest back to life if you really have one that you'd like to use a lot, but it's starting to get too worn. So overall, I highly recommend it.